Good morning, students. Today's class we will see about fetal distress. Formerly, it is known as fetal distress. Presently, it is known as non-reassuring fetal status. Fetal distress or non-reassuring fetal status is an ill-defined term used to express intrauterine fetal jeopardy as a result of intrauterine fetal hypoxia. So, non-reassuring fetal status is characterized by tachycardia or bradycardia, reduced fetal heart rate variability, deceleration, and absence of accelerations. It must be emphasized that hypoxia and acidosis is the ultimate result of many causes of intrauterine fetal compromise. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists now recommended that instead of the term fetal distress, the term non-reassuring fetal status be used to refer suspicious fetal heart racing, since most reassuring tracings end with the birth of a normal healthy status. Infants. Birth asphyxia should be replaced with asphyxia with reference to its specific time. Hypoxemia, decreased oxygen content in the blood. Hypoxia, decreased oxygen in the tissue. Acidemia, increased concentration of hydrogen ions in the blood. Acidosis, increased concentration of hydrogen ions in the tissue. Asphyxia, hypoxia with metabolic acidosis. The FHR pattern in labor are dynamic and can change rapidly from normal to abnormal and vice versa. Because of this uncertainty about the diagnosis of fetal distress, terminologies used are reassuring and non-reassuring patterns instead of fetal distress. Pathophysiology. Under normal conditions, when the oxygen supply is adequate, aerobic glycolysis occurs in the fetus and glycogen is converted to pyruvic acid, which is ultimately oxidized by a Krebs cycle. During hypoxia, that means when the oxygen saturation falls below 40%, anaerobic metabolism occurs, resulting in the accumulation of lactic acid and pyruvic acid, leading to metabolic acidosis. The hydrogen ion first stimulate, then depress the SA node, leading to tachycardia and then bradycardia respectively. It also causes parasympathetic stimulation, leading to hyperperistalsis and relaxation of anal sphincter with the passage of meconium. I hope you might have understood the reason why in fetal distress the fetus pass meconium, because it causes parasympathetic stimulation leading to hyperperistalsis and relaxation of anal sphincter. That means decreased oxygenation in labor lead to hypoxia, that will lead to metabolic acidosis, that lead to asphyxia, tissue damage, and fetal death. Etiology. If it is acute during pregnancy, is less common. That means it is because of placental abruption following a cephalic version due to cord entanglement during oxytocin induction. But acute fetal distress is during labor is more common. Uterine hyperstimulation following oxytocin for augmentation of labor, uterine rupture or scar dehiscence, cord prolapse, injurious administration of analgesics, anesthetic agent, maternal hypotension as in case of epidural analgesia, placental abruption. Etiology of chronic. The various clinical conditions which are responsible for chronic placental insufficiency and intrauterine growth retardation are linked with chronic fetal distress. They are maternal nutrition before and during pregnancy, maternal disease like anemia, hypertension, thrombophilia, heart disease, chronic renal disease, collagen vascular disease, and toxins like alcohol and smoking during pregnancy. Fetal condition at birth assessed by blood gas values of the umbilical artery. Normal values are pH is 7.27, PCO2 is 50, and is high bicarbonate ion is 23. The correlation between FHR and long-term neurological sequelae is poor. In many, asphyxia occur prior to the labor. The effect of fetal hypoxia. The fetus may suffer from iugia, fetal movement decreases, oligohydramnios, meconium-stained amniotic fluid, intrauterine fetal death. The infant, if it is born alive, the infant may suffer hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, meconium aspiration syndrome, acidosis with decompensation, cerebral palsy, neonatal seizures. Signs and symptoms: passage of meconium in liquoramni, increased FHR over 160 per minute, decreased oxygen saturation in the fetal blood gas as diagnosed by fetal scalp blood sampling, decreased fetal heart rate below 100 per minute. The management of non-reassuring. It This by non-surgical measures include lateral position to avoid compression of vena cava and aorta by gravid uterus. This increases the cardiac output and uteroplacental perfusion. Oxygen should be administered to the mother with a mask to improve fetal saturation. Correction of dehydration by IV fluids to improve intravascular volume and uterine perfusion. Correction of maternal hypertension following epidural analgesia with immediate infusion of 1 liter of crystal oil. Stoppage of oxytocin to improve the fetal oxygenation, fetal hypoxia, and may due to the strong sustained uterine contraction. With reassuring FHR, in the absence of fetal acidemia, oxytocin may be restarted. Tocolytics is given when the uterus is hypotonous and there is non-reassuring FHR. Amino infusion, the process of to increase the intrauterine fluid volume with warm normal saline. Indications are oligohydramnios, cord compression to dilute or wash meconium, and to improve variable or prolonged deceleration. The fetal heart rate pattern remains non-reassuring. Further tests are performed to rule out metabolic acidosis. Surgical management is cesarean delivery should be done with 15-degree lateral tilt and the baby is delivered. Thank you for listening. If you have any doubts or comments, please let me know.